This section, that is the introduction, is called Shaping Our History. In 1405, Admiral John set off from China with a glorious armada, leading 300 magnificent ships on a 30-year odyssey to distant lands as far afield as Africa. Everywhere he went, John, a Muslim by birth, whose father had completed a pilgrimage to Mecca, heightened the prestige of the empire. He left such a fine impression that in some parts of Southeast Asia, he was even deified with temples still venerating him to this day. His ships inspired awe in those he visited. Not surprisingly, since his crew of 27,000 men was larger than the entire population of many ports of call. Indeed, his fleet was the greatest the world had ever seen, dwarfing the technological capabilities of Europe at that time. Later that century, Christopher Columbus set sail from Spain with a crew of 90 men in 3 threadbare boats, each of which could have fit 10 times into one of John's. After just 3 days, one of their rudders broke and they had to stop in the Canary Islands for repair. And yet, in spite of this enormous technological chasm, it was Columbus's voyage that would change the course of history, while John's armada left virtually no imprint on the world. Why? In this book, we'll try to get inside the minds of people like John and Columbus to gain a new perspective on this and other crucial questions of history. Is it our true nature to be selfish and competitive, or empathic and community-minded? How did the rise of agriculture set the stage for our current ecological crisis? Why did the scientific revolution take place in Europe and not in Chinese or Islamic civilization? What are the root causes of our modern global culture of rampant consumerism? And is there any way we can change it? Pioneering this new field of cognitive history, this book will show how different cultures construct core metaphors to make meaning out of their world, and how these metaphors forge the values that ultimately drive people's actions. We'll discover why a hunter-gatherer tribe insulted the anthropologist who gave them a fat ox for Christmas. Why a great Muslim scholar received 50 lashes for his scientific research, and what drove a prominent church father to castrate himself. The book is based on a simple but compelling theme. Culture shapes values, and those values shape history. It will show the layers of values that form the norms of mainstream Western culture and how these continue to shape our world today. That's why, although this book focuses on history, it can help us understand not just where we came from, but where we're headed. There has never been a more important time to contemplate this question. Imagine a satellite being launched into orbit, but its controls aren't working too well. If the trajectory gets too steep, it will break through the Earth's gravity field and soar into outer space. If it accelerates too rapidly, atmospheric resistance will cause it to come crashing down in a fiery ball. Only if everything is managed with great care will the satellite achieve a stable orbit. The trajectory of our civilization is a lot like that of the satellite. At the accelerating rate of technological innovation, artificial intelligence may soon transcend our own, and human DNA might be re-engineered to produce a genetically enhanced species, akin to the satellite leaving its home planet forever. On the other hand, the rate at which we're exploiting the Earth's resources is unsustainable. In addition to climate change, there's a rapidly accumulating list of equally daunting crises. such as capacity limits in crucial resources, deforestation, and a massive extinction of species. If the convergence of these multiple threats becomes too much to handle, our global civilization could face a total collapse, akin to the satellite hitting too much resistance and crashing down. To me, and perhaps to you too, neither of these scenarios is attractive. But is it possible for our civilization to manage its trajectory capably enough to reach a stable orbit? What would it take to achieve that? If we want to steer our future toward a sustainable path, it's important to know how we got into this unstable and potentially disastrous trajectory to begin with. The operating system of that satellite is buried deep within the values that shape our civilization. That's what we'll be unearthing in this book.